Over the almost 4 decades of amazing Mario games, the series has appealed to fans of all ages due to its simplistic gameplay mechanics that lead to some incredibly fun moments. On top of everything, Nintendo has mastered the art of level creation, coming up with some of the most ingenious ideas that has kept each and every game feeling extremely fresh. However, not every level is meant to please everyone, and there are some that are so hard that even the most seasoned gamers are left frustrated. My name is Copycat, and welcome to the hardest level in every Mario game. Before I get this video started, if you haven't yet, then please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to stay notified when I upload new videos. The original Super Mario Bros. For the NES is probably the most simplistic in the series in terms of difficulty, enemies, and level design. However, the game does get a bit more difficult as you progress towards the end, and the hardest level has to be World 8-3. There are tons of enemies here that want to hurt you, from Bullet Bills to Piranha Plants, and of course the incredibly pesky Hammer Bros. Now, in all fairness, in comparison to what we see nowadays in 2D Mario games, this level seems fairly easy. But when this game was initially released, the average gamer didn't really exist, and many people had loads of trouble with it. The American version of Super Mario Bros. 2 contains several levels that pose a bit of a challenge, but just one that would be considered hard. This is because in World 5-1, there are a large amount of very precise jumps that are needed to cross a few waterfalls using just logs and trouters as your platforms. Of course, in this game, choosing either Luigi or Peach makes this a lot easier, as they both have abilities that make jumping a breeze, but you can still challenge yourself a bit by trying it out with Toad or Mario. Super Mario Bros. 3 is definitely the most difficult in the original trilogy, especially when you reach World 8, the Dark Land. Here, many people agree that the airship is by far the hardest level. This is mainly due to the incredibly fast auto-scrolling, where you have to make some perfectly timed leaps from one airship to another. There's also no ground below you in this level, so if you fall to your death, you have to start from the beginning. What makes this even more difficult, however, are the rocky wrenches that throw their wrench projectiles towards you, causing probably more deaths than any other level in this game. I think it's smart to save your P-Wing for this one. Super Mario Land is probably the easiest game you'll see in this video, but I have to give Nintendo the benefit of the doubt, as it was their first try at a Super Mario handheld title. I did have a bit of trouble selecting the hardest level, so I instead decided just to include the entirety of World 4. This is the Chai Kingdom, full of enemies like the Pionpi, that acts very similarly to Dry Bones, the Nyololin, that's literally a snake that spits fireballs, and all the strange flying enemies that attack Mario during the very out-of-place plane level. To be honest, there's no extreme difficulty here, just a few sections and enemies that will give you a bit of trouble, but that's basically it. The really cool thing about Super Mario World is that Nintendo added the Secret Star World that, when fully completed, unlocks the even more secret Special Zone. Here you'll find 8 unique levels that all bring a different aspect of difficulty to the table. However, anyone who's ever played these amazing levels would agree that Tubular is by far the hardest. There's little to no ground in this level, and the majority of it has to be traversed by using a power balloon if you don't have the Cape Feather power-up. There are tons of enemies in your way to stop you from getting each power balloon, which makes things even more frustrating. Of course, you could always use a blue Yoshi and eat a Koopa Parachupa, which will give you wings, making things a lot easier, but I consider this just a bit of cheating. Super Mario Bros., The Lost Levels, or just Super Mario Bros. 2 as it's known in Japan, is considered to be the hardest 2D Mario platforming game ever made. On top of that, the game has 4 secret, even harder worlds that can only be unlocked once the game has been fully beaten a total of 8 times. The hardest level of these secret worlds has to be C3, as it adds a very interesting mechanic of using a spring to shoot up in the air, with you having to navigate Mario blindly across large gaps to the next platforms. On top of this already difficult feat, you have to battle against strong gusts of wind, making your landings that much harder. On top of all that, power-ups are hard to come by in this game, so you'll probably have to complete this as Small Mario. On top of all that, there's a Lakitu that follows you around the level trying to throw spinies at you. Super Mario Land 2 is a much more polished game in comparison to the first one, but still runs into the problem of containing levels that tend to be on the easier side. Things only start to get difficult in the final level, Mario's Castle. Or Wario's Castle, I guess, now that he's taken it over, but anyways. Here, there are several difficult enemies that want to harm you, like the fireball-spitting piranha plant statues, the flying pulsating spike balls, and the insanely creepy floating faces that look somewhat familiar. The Wario boss fight itself isn't overly hard, you just have to beat him through 3 different stages, dodging his bunny form ground pounds, and fire form fireball attacks. And for what this game lacks in difficulty, it definitely makes up for an originality. I had a lot of difficulty picking the hardest level in Super Mario 64, as there's a few with some really tough stars, but that doesn't make it difficult as a whole. However, there are a few levels that are solely based on the collection of a single star, meaning the developers knew what they were doing when they created Wing Mario Over the Rainbow. This level had the arduous task of making you collect 8 red coins to gain the star, while using the wing cap power-up to fly around. I remember growing up playing Super Mario 64, having a bit of trouble controlling Wing Mario on even the more simplistic courses, so you could only imagine my struggles when I finally approached this one. Your path to collect each coin has to be very precise, and if you screw up at all, you get transported to the moat outside the castle, meaning you have to make your way all the way back to the 3rd floor. What a pain. As much as I wanted to include the extremely frustrating Lily Pad ride as the hardest level in Super Mario Sunshine, based on recent comments from my recent video on the worst levels in every Mario game, a lot of people have pure hatred for the Pachinko game. This is because traversing Mario through this level is an absolute pain, as the camera doesn't want to cooperate, and the level itself is a bit glitchy, making the collection of all 8 coins that much more difficult. There really are a few levels from this game I could have included in this video, but this one sticks out in my memory the most. New Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo DS was the series' return to 2D platforming, and its hardest level is by far World 8 Tower 2. What makes this level so difficult is that you have to use the snake as a platform while traversing through the majority of the tower. This is all done by avoiding the large amount of fire bars and spiked balls along your path. This level ends in a Bowser Jr. boss battle where you have to stop the Koopa shells he throws at you and attack him in return. Honestly, there are a few levels in World 8 that could have taken the spot, but I just think platforming up the snake with so few power-ups is utterly challenging. Super Mario Galaxy was another game where it's kinda difficult to choose the hardest level, as there are a few that could take that top spot. One of those levels is Luigi's Purple Coins that has the insane challenge of having to collect 100 of 150 coins with only 3 minutes to do so. On top of all this, the platforms revolve or disappear, and there are some completely covered in poison, making things extremely difficult. Another level that has a very similar premise of collecting purple coins is Purple Coins in the Bone Pen, which is difficult as every single second counts and it's very easy to get knocked off course. However, the Purple Coins levels are just more or less difficult challenges, and if I had to pick the hardest level based on platforming, then I'd go with the Lava Spire Daredevil Run, located in the Melty Molten Galaxy. Here, you have to traverse through the level with the added difficulty of only having 1 piece of health. If you take damage in any way, then you need to restart the mission from the beginning, which is extremely frustrating. This level is long, tedious, and there's plenty of lava-based enemies that want to ruin your day. New Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo Wii was the series' console return to 2D platforming, and had one really difficult, very out of place level in World 9-7. Now, I made the mistake of putting this level in a previous video as the worst level in this game, but I was definitely mistaken as it's just straight up the hardest. The entirety of the level has you platforming on ice blocks that can be melted by the hordes of piranha plants shooting fireballs towards you. On top of all that, if you get the Fire Flower power-up, you need to be doubly careful of shooting out the ground from under you. Also, good luck trying to get all 3 gold coins. It's weird, as there really isn't any other level like this one in the entire game. In Super Mario Galaxy 2, there's one level that almost everyone will agree is the hardest in the game, and that's the Grandmaster Galaxy's Perfect Run. This final mission in the game is only unlocked when you get the Comet Medal from the first mission in the galaxy, and a total of 9,999 star bits. What's so difficult about this specific level is that you have to complete it with only 1 hit point and no checkpoint flags. There are plenty of obstacles and enemies in your way, like sentry beams, an electric maze, octopodes, floating mines, and of course pesky hammer and boomerang bros. Using the Cloud Mushroom power-up here does make platforming a bit easier, but trust me when I say it's still no simple task. When you beat the initial 8 worlds in Super Mario 3D Land, 8 more special worlds will become unlocked. However, there's an even more secret level that's only unlocked after you gain a total of 5 stars on your profile. These stars are collected by 1. Beating Bowser in World 8, 2. Collecting the gold flag in each level. 3. Collecting the star medals from every level. 4. Clearing Special 8 Castle, then returning to Bowser's Castle in World 8 and beating him again. And 5. Finally, clearing each and every level at least once as both Mario and Luigi. Once you can finally play S8 Crown, you'll realize it's a level with some very tight platforming sections where it's extremely easy to fall into the void below. After the first section, there's a boss fight against a Boom Boom and a Pom Pom, which is difficult as the room you have to face them in is very small. Next is a moving platform section where you have to dodge an array of fuzzies, exploding Bob-Bombs, and fire bars. After this, there's a quick disappearing platform part, then a section where you need to get around a series of burners, chain chomps, and wallops while dodging the insanely tough Cosmic Mario clone. At the end, Nintendo will thank you for playing, and the level will finish. Of course, using a Super Leaf power-up does make your life a bit easier, but trust me, you'll still have a lot of trouble. The hardest level in New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the Nintendo 3DS actually comes in the form of DLC called the Impossible Pack. Here, there are 3 of the hardest levels you'll ever see in a 2D Mario title, as it also adds the challenge of having to collect 100 coins across the 3 courses, with the even more added twist of there not actually being any coins present. This means it's all based on your time, so finishing the level as fast as you can is an absolute must. What helps you a lot is that if you reach the top of each flagpole, then you get a multiplier, but there are no power-ups and very little checkpoints throughout, meaning this is easier said than done. The hardest level in New Super Mario Bros. U actually resides in a coin collection course in challenge mode called Don't Touch Anything. Now, it's sort of odd that the level falls under the coin collection category as, if you guess from the name, if you collect 6 or more coins or get touched by any enemy at all, the course will end. Nintendo also put coins along the easiest path to take, meaning you'll have to think a bit outside the box if you want to finish this course. Also, if you want to earn the gold medal, you have to complete it without touching a single coin. Wow. Super Mario 3D World's hardest level is also the final one, called Champion's Road. Nintendo intentionally designed it to be the most challenging in this game as it's relatively long, contains no checkpoints or power-ups, and has a wide range of difficult platforming sections with dozens of enemies just to make things a bit more fun. The part I always had trouble with was the dash section, as instinctually I want to jump way more than I should, when being patient is really the key. Super Mario Odyssey is the final game we're going to look at in this video, and its hardest level takes place on the darker side of the moon with a challenge called A Long Journey's End. This kingdom is only accessible once the main story is completed, and you collect 500 Power Moons. The sole objective of this level is to collect the multi-moon from atop the skyscraper at its end. Once again, like other Final Mario levels, there are no checkpoints, meaning that if you fail, you'll be transported right back to the start. The parts I had most trouble with were the lava bubble parts, the shifting blocks that you'll almost surely fail the first time you attempt, and the moving platform section with the massive amounts of burr bows trying to attack you. Of course, you could just use the Glide-On to skip this section by continuously shaking the controller, which will bring you right to the Bowser painting, but this only makes everything slightly easier. Alright, so that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I really hope you did enjoy this one. If you did, please leave a like, comment below any future videos you guys want me to make, and of course, subscribe to my channel. If you haven't yet, please check out my Instagram at CopyCatGamer, where I upload cool clips and some items from my collection. I hope you guys all have a good day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!